Minnesota Vikings did a thing this week by signing Zadarius Smith, elite pass rusher to the Minnesota Vikings. I believe I talked about that on my last podcast. And the contract came out, the details when it came out, it was a 3-year deal, $52 million. But, some people talked about on the internet who actually cover football for a living were like, it's interesting that the deal came out and the agent didn't talk about or didn't release to the public the guaranteed money, because in the NFL that's all it really matters is the guaranteed money. And I thought that was kind of suspicious. And then comes out that it's only like a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal, with the base salary being something around like $6 million. And the interesting thing about this contract is it's only $3.3 million against the cap for the Vikings. It's actually $11.3 million against the cap for the Packers. So he's actually doing more damage to the Green Bay with the way his contract is structured with the Minnesota Vikings. And also, we also signed the slot corner, Shandon Sullivan from the Packers as well. Mackenzie Alexander is not coming back. No surprise. He's used to Mike Pettin. Mike Pettin, of course, is one of the defensive coaches for the Vikings now. I don't know if he's an advisor or an assistant or whatever he is, but he's not the defensive coordinator. He's just a guy familiar with the player, both players, as a matter of fact. But what's interesting about the contract, Zadarius Smith, it left the Vikings with $11.5 million in cap space, which you look at it and you go, well, you signed last year Patrick Peterson for a 1-year, $8 million deal. Why don't you just do that again? And that way we have an outside corner. It seems like they're not actually... it seems like that's not their number one option. It's obvious to me, because if it was, it would have happened already. You still have Stephon Gilmore out there at cornerback. You got Kyle Fuller, who's familiar with the defensive coordinator as well. So you got some options out there at cornerback. They're moving real slow because the Vikings have, other than Shannon Sullivan, Cam Dantzler, some guys behind those two. You don't really have cornerbacks that have played a lot of football. You got Chris Boyd, Harrison Hand. Those guys they're below average. So, which is why a lot of people in their mock drafts have Minnesota drafting a cornerback at number 12, but it won't be so much of a need if you grab one of these free agent veteran cornerbacks. Right now, me myself, I would prefer Stephon Gilmore over Pat Pete, but I also think that Stephon Gilmore is looking for a lot more money than Pat Pete. I also look at it like this, man. Patrick Peterson is used to being in Minnesota, even though it was 1 year. He's used to being in Minnesota, so I would get some camaraderie there at the cornerback position and just sign him. I would sign him to a multi-year deal. Maybe it's not $8 million. Maybe it's about 7 and change. Maybe you can come to an understanding on the number of the contract, the years, add some void years, which a lot of people started doing recently to people's contracts. That way, it'll slim the cap hit for this season. But yeah, man, I would most certainly bring Patrick Peterson back, or again, Stephon Gilmore. One of those two guys that I know will be a more than average cornerback. Now, you heard the GM say in his last press conference that basically alluded to the fact that the way the defensive scheme is going to be ran, you're not going to need much help. The cornerbacks are going to get more help. They're going to get more help, as if in Mike Zimmer's system, the cornerbacks really had to do a lot of the work themselves, man to man. Even though it was a zone, they were trusted to a lot of responsibility because Minnesota didn't blitz at all. They didn't do a lot of blitzing. So in the 3-4 that we're going to use, there's going to be a lot of schematic things, a lot of blitzing, and a lot of other different things. So it was great to hear that the contract was only 3.3 against the cap. I have not got the numbers. I don't think anybody's got the numbers on Shandon Sullivan's contract. Seems to be a 1-year deal, maybe. So still, man, Patrick Peterson, Stephon Gilmore, Kyle Fuller would even be an option. But with the $11.5 million, I'll also look at it as if you're going to not draft a veteran cornerback and you're going to go into the draft and try to get one of those top 3 cornerbacks, then just sign the center J.C. Tretter from Cleveland, who's out there available as a free agent. Because Garrett Bradbury, we cannot go into the season with Garrett Bradbury at center. The dude is too light. He's not strong. He's just horrible. He's a bust, which is why I don't see them picking up his 5th-year option. And I understood why they drafted him when they drafted him in the first round a few years ago. You went positional need instead of best player available. I understood it. I wasn't mad at it. But he showed that he gets moved around by people who are stronger than him so easily, which makes it so uncomfortable for Kirk Cousins. And this guy, J.C. Tretter, is 6'4", 300-something pounds. You need a guy that's not going to get laid on his back a lot, or not going to be looking like he doesn't know what he's doing at least. A veteran center, an elite pass blocking center. Some people talk about injury history. I know he had injuries, knickknacks, but he played through everything. He played 16 games last year. I think he played every game at center with the Cleveland Browns. If I looked at his games played a little bit ago, if I looked at it the right way. So if he does have injuries, and he didn't sit out any games. He missed a game last year because of COVID, but that's not an injury. You know what I'm saying? So I would go, if you're asking me what would I do as the Vikings, I would go sign the center, because we haven't had an elite one in such a long time. Sign the center. That would make the offense elite, because you have somebody that's going to make sure, at the very least, when Kirk gets the ball, he's not getting plastered in the face by a defensive lineman. And then I will go into the draft and hope one of those 3 corners fall to me at 12, and at least draft more cornerbacks in the later round, 2nd round, 3rd round if you have to. But hope one of those guys fall to me at 12, and it could be a day 1 starter. So, hey, man, let's see what happens. I have another video coming up a little later. And see y'all next time. Peace.